Welcome back, everyone, for today's video. Today I'm going to be recapping round 2 of the Friday night action quads at the Holiday Inn held by the Georgia Chess Club. Now, as I mentioned in the previous video, these rounds basically start almost immediately, so in order to finish in a timely manner, because this starts in the evening and is expected to last a few hours. So if there were breaks between games, obviously the tournament would run really late. So they were trying to be as efficient as possible. So that's why games start almost immediately. And my second opponent in the quad is Dhruva Movva. I've talked about him a few times on the channel. One time when we played each other, I salvaged the draw in a rated game of the week. And another video I made of him was how he was rapidly gaining rating and beating people higher rated than him, such as even a FIDE master. So Dhruva is obviously a talented kid, and I don't have a positive track record against him, not yet. So he's obviously a tough opponent, so let's see how I fare out against him in this game. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into the action. And as a reminder, these are G30 with 5-second delay games. So Dhruva begins with e4. I go e5, knight f3, knight c6. And Dhruva plays bishop e5 going into the Ruy Lopez. And I abstain from playing my usual Berlin defense with knight f6. And like the Brad game with the rook hang, I play the move a6, the Morphy defense, and we get the same moves, bishop a4, knight f6, and in the Brad game, he castled. But here, Dhruva plays this move d4, which I didn't know was a move. It's apparently called like the Mackenzie center attack or something. I don't know if he knew that was the name of it, but I'm sure he knew that this was one of the moves he could play. So I didn't know this was theory, so I just decided to take the pawn on d4, and this is the best move. And here Dhruva castles, gambiting the pawn temporarily, and while it's actually possible to go pawn hunting and take the pawn again, but there's no need to do that because you're only running into trouble and giving yourself issues to deal with, because white already can start putting pressure on your knight with rook e1. If you try to solidify your knight here, white can recover the pawn. White has pressure on your knight on c6. And best move here is bishop c5. And then we get a crazy line with knight c6, queen h4. And I didn't want this to... This is a similar line like in the game with Brad, where you go all out for this attack. So... Actually, what was the best move there? It was queen f6, but same point. You're attacking the pawn on f2. So I'm just trying to illustrate that there's no need to go pawn hunting so early on. So I play bishop e7 to keep the e-file closed. Dhruva plays rook e1. I castle, and he plays e5. I move my knight to the center, and we're playing this pretty quickly. We each have spent about a minute on time. Dhruva plays bishop b3, attacking the knight, and I only have one decent square for the knight to go to. So I go knight b6. And here Dhruva makes a mistake, which is a4. To me, this looked like a very logical move because he's threatening a5, and my knight on b6 doesn't have any... In fact, it's actually threatening to trap my knight. So, like I said, it's a random move. A5 is just going to trap the knight, so I assumed that was... I had to react to that threat, but apparently this isn't good because the best move here is d5 to fight for the center and control c4. So if white were to push your knight, you could hop into c4, and after a move like this, you're attacking the pawn in a5 too, so you could just save your knight like that. Also, let's say white takes your knight first. The idea here is to play this sequence, knight takes, queen takes, you gain tempo on the queen with c5, the queen retreats somewhere, you play c4, and the bishop only has one safe square to go to. And now, because the bishop is blocking the rook's path of the view of the pawn, you can go ahead and take this. But white does have this move bishop c4, and they get the pawn back. And after after this following sequence of moves and something like bishop to b7, black ends up with a nice pawn chain and a slightly better position. So that was the best course of action. But I instead go a5, just preventing him from playing a5 at all. And this brings the advantage slightly into white's favor. So Dhruva recovers his pawn with knight takes d4. I play knight takes d4, and only now do I play d5. I played a little bit late. He does en passant here, Dhruva, and I play queen takes d6, offering to go into the endgame. And here I'm up 2 minutes on time. And Dhruva here declines the queen trade and plays queen e4, and his queen's actually really annoying on that square. Because after I save my bishop and he goes bishop f4, his pieces are very active, especially the queen and the bishop. My queen doesn't really have a whole lot of great squares to go to. And I have to keep contact with my pawn on c7. So if I, let's say, offer a trade of queens, white was going to take and then put bishop c7, and I didn't want to go into an end, but then you have bishop b2, so I guess it's fine. But I just wanted to defend my c-pawn. So I play queen c5, and here Dhruva plays the move c3. And I was thinking about what to do here. I noticed that if I try to develop my bishop normally, like to f5, white can just go ahead and take this pawn on b7. And while it's not like a huge advantage for white, in fact, engine says to go ahead and give 2 pawns to white. Oh, rook a to b8, sorry, not here. And then after something like this, you're down 2 pawns in the endgame, and I didn't want to go into this. So my bishop's stuck on c8 because it has to keep defending the pawn. And my queen has to defend the c-pawn, so I'm kind of tied down a little bit. I was thinking about this move bishop g5, which is best. But after the bishop slides back to g3, I just felt like my bishop could be a target with like h4 or something like that. And I would still need to figure out what to do after the bishop didn't move to g3. So with that said, I go ahead and play this move rook a7, which may look weird. It kind of does look weird at first glance, but the point is that I'm preparing to develop my bishop, but I'm moving my rook to defend the pawn, so that way it's not hanging. Because the rook right now is defending b7, and my idea was to develop the bishop so the pawn isn't hanging anymore, so that's why I played rook a7. Dhruva here plays bishop e3, and we each have 16 minutes here. I play queen f5, offering to go into the endgame, and he trades here. And I was hoping he would, give up his bishop like this to go for the doubled pawns. And I knew this was a mistake to give his bishop up for the knight. But maybe he was focused on the pawn structure, because often doubled pawns in the endgame are a liability. But here, his bishop is way better than way better than my knight, and even worse is my rook is on a7 in the line of fire with the bishop, so that makes the bishop even stronger here. Anyway, after bishop f5, Dhruva plays knight a3, and he's trying to go to b5, and I can't let that happen. So I play the move bishop to d7, and if he were to play knight b5, I would just take the knight, of course. So he played knight c4 instead, and this is unpleasant because he's attacking my knight on b6 twice. He's attacking my a5 pawn. And I was first thinking about playing the move rook a6 just to get out of the pin and defend my knight like that. But then I saw he could play knight b6, takes, and then go bishop c4. And my rook is pretty awkward on a6, and I would have to move it to a8 or something. And then he would just take my pawn on b6 and be really happy in this endgame. So I didn't go rook a6. I instead go bishop e6 in an attempt to pin the knight to his bishop. So he plays knight b6 here. And I was debating what piece to take, either his knight on b6 or the bishop on b3. I mean, the better move is bishop b3, even though it loses an exchange, as you'll see in the next couple moves. Even though this doesn't lose the exchange, this is just still really bad for black because you're just going to lose 2 pawns, and an exchange is the same as being down 2 points, so they're basically the same move strength, if that makes sense. So after knight b6, I go ahead and take his bishop on b3. He goes knight d7, and my 2 rooks are attacked. He attacked 1 rook with his knight, hitting my rook on f8, and the bishop is attacking the rook on a7. So I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be down an exchange in the endgame. So I go ahead and take his knight, and I'm down in exchange. And here Dhruva plays bishop f4. I go c6. And here I have 10 minutes and he has 11 minutes. He goes bishop c7. And this doesn't actually defend the pawn because Dhruva could sack on a5 due to my back rank weakness. So, yeah, so I can't really defend the pawn. And I don't really want to go bishop d8 here either because I'm just inviting trades. And even worse here is bishop d6, and my rook's actually trapped, so bishop d8 is not going to cut it. So I go h6 to give my king some left. He goes bishop takes a5. I go rook a8 in an attempt to win his a pawn back. He goes bishop b6. I go bishop a4, and I'm basically pinning my bishop, but he can't go b3 right away because my idea was to fork his rooks with bishop c3. But the engine here just says rook a4, and he has to throw in this check first before taking my rook back. So, but instead he goes rook e4, and my bishop's double attacked. There's no way to save it, so the only way not to lose even more material is to go rook a6, which I play. And the annoying part is that my rook's stuck, and he forces a trade of rooks. So this win is going to be even easier for him. So I go b5, the only way to defend my pawn. He goes rook e4, and he has 8 minutes here. And after I play king f8, I have 6 minutes. King f1, I play bishop e7. That way the rook isn't eyeing down in the e8 square, and I can get into my king that way by blocking the e-file temporarily. So he plays king e2, king e8, rook d4, and this win is going to be pretty simple for Dhruva. Bishop is not going to outdo a rook, especially like this. I don't even have an extra pawn or anything, so this is a pretty simple win for white. Rook d3, king e7, f4, king f6. I do my best to try to hold it for a draw. King f3, b4. We get a quick trade. King to e4, king e6, f5 check, king f6, g4, g6, rook b3. And I was thinking about defending the bishop like that, and I was wondering if he could sack the material, and this is still a winning king and pawn endgame. Because after this sequence, he can just go grab my pawn on b4, and I'm pretty much helpless. So I didn't decide to do that. I decided to, still to end up defending the bishop, but he doesn't simplify. He plays rook d3, king g5, rook d7, king f6, rook c7, h5, rook c8, king g5, rook c7, king f6, h3. I'm running out of moves here, My bishop can't really go do anything because it has to defend the pawn. My king has to defend the pawn and also keep white's king out. So I'm running out of moves. King f4, bishop d2 check, king g4, bishop e3, I'm defending the pawn another way. King h4, king f5, rook f7 check, king g6, rook d7, bishop d4. Dhruva has another chance here to simplify if he wants to. And the king is in the square, and due to the principle of two weaknesses, I can't stop white's two pawns because they're too far apart. So Dhruva had that choice, but he instead goes b3, king f5, king g3, bishop e5 check, king f3, king e6, rook d1, bishop c3, h4, king f6, king g4, king g6, rook d6 check, king g7, h5, king h7, king g5, bishop e4, rook d7 check, king g8. And after king g6, after the fruitless effort of trying to salvage this game, I end up resigning the game on move 66, and I lose the second game on the quad. I have my score is 1 out of 2, and if we take a look at the accuracy here, I never had a chance at all in this game. As you can see, white basically had the advantage the whole game, minus the fact of Dhruva's slight inaccuracy with a4. And I didn't even play that shabby, to be honest. Dhruva just simply outplayed me, and I need to tip my hat to him because I just got crushed positionally, and I can't really complain here because I didn't really have a chance. 93.9, I'm still happy with my accuracy, 89.2. That's a good accuracy for a loss. So not too upset by this. Dhruva just played really extremely well. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you guys for watching. If you like content like this, please don't forget to smash that subscribe button below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about my videos and content like this. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. Have a great rest of your day or night. Bye.